All right, what is option fees, option period, and earnest money? All these answers and more coming right up. Hey everyone, Andrew here with the Lake Team down here in Houston, Texas. Welcome back to another video that we have for you today. If you're watching this video on YouTube, click that subscribe button down below, and we do our best to produce real estate content to you each and every week. So once you subscribe, hit that bell button as well. You'll be the first to get notified of all of our videos that we release. All right, so that being said, let's jump straight into today's topic, which is what is your option period, what is your option fees, and what is an earnest money? All right, so this common question, it's actually a really common question because it's in the contract, and it's one of the very first two things that have to be done once you go under contract with a seller. All right, so let's go over earnest money first. Okay, so earnest money, what that means is that is basically like a good faith, right? It's a good faith deposit to the title company that you are going to purchase the property from the seller. And it's also some reassurance as well for the seller. So if you were to breach the contract in any way down the line, and if you just refuse to buy or whatever the case is, outside of your termination period, then the seller can pretty much, keep your earnest money if you were to breach the contract. So, but anyways, earnest money is to show that my deposit, this is my good faith, and I'm a serious buyer. I'm showing you that I am a serious buyer, and I'm good. This is a good faith deposit for the title company, and it's also required anyways for the contract. But yeah, it shows that the seller that you're serious on it. How much is a good question. How much of earnest money deposit do you need to put down? Here in the state of Texas, or let's say Houston, for example, it's usually about 1% of the purchase price. But a lot of buyers don't think of these extra deposits that come with it or down payments. Now, how much is, like I said, 1% of the purchase price. So for example, if it's $300,000 purchase, your earnest money deposit at the title company would be $3,000. You're not making that check out to the seller, you're going to make it out to the title company. And the title company then holds it in an escrow account until the day you close, right? So that's where it goes. It goes to the title company. And when does it need to be delivered? So the contract states that it needs to be delivered within 3 days of signing the contract. So you have 3 days to get that earnest money over to the title company. Otherwise, you are considered in default. So time is actually of the essence here. You don't want to be in default because if you don't deposit the earnest money within 3 days, the seller then has the right to terminate the contract with you, as the contract states. If you really want the property, that's not something you want to do. You don't want the seller to back off your contract and then put it back on the market and then you lose out on the house. That's a pretty devastating thing to go through, trust me. Yeah, so you have 3 days to deposit it. So you could deposit it in the form of a cashier's check, a regular check. You can wire it to the title company if you needed to. There's several different options. Say if you're not here locally, for example, if you're relocating from California or New York, you can either overnight a check if you wanted to, or you can wire it to the title company directly and they'll earnest money for you. Do you get that back? Is the earnest money credited? So that's a question that we get as well. What happens with that money, basically? So your earnest money is credited to you at closing. It's going to come out, at the end of the day, or at closing day, you're going to get like a settlement statement, for example, and it's going to show you all your fees, all the charges from your lender, your taxes, all your insurance prorations, all these things, all your closing costs basically, and your down payment's going to be included in that. So you're going to have an X amount of dollar that you're going to have to come up with to bring to closing. Let's say it's $40,300.78 or something, right? So you're going to get that, but in that $3,000 that you deposited is going to get credited. So you credited to your settlement statement or to you back. It's going to get credited back to you at closing, if that makes sense. All right, well, that pretty much covers up the earnest money. We're going to jump into option period and option fees now. All right, so if you don't know what an option period is, or a termination option is what I think it states in the contract. A termination option is what gives you, the buyer, the right to back out of the contract or terminate the contract within that allotted time. Again, typically down here in Houston, we have a 7 to 10 day option period, which is pretty standard, depending on the situation. Some people may waive it all together. Some people may just do like a minimum of 3 days. But for the most part, we're seeing around 7 to 10 days. That's what gives you the right to, the sellers are going to take the house off the market. It's going to show a pending option period down here in Houston. All MLSs might be different, but in Houston, it's going to say pending and then dash option pending. Right, that means that the buyer is then going through their inspection period. They're going to hire them. They're going to call an inspector. An inspector is going to come out there, and they're going to inspect the property from top to bottom. And then at that point, it's up to you to decide if you want to ask the seller for any repairs, if you want to renegotiate the sales price, if you want to renegotiate maybe any contributions towards closing costs from the seller. At that point, that's the decision for you and your agent to make, or for me and you to make, or whoever it is. That's the decision for you guys to make. And all right, so now we'll talk about the option fee itself. Now the option fee, what we're seeing again down here in the Houston area is roughly about $10, $20 a day. Maybe like 150 bucks, 200 bucks for 7 or 10 days, whatever it is. That's kind of what we're seeing, and that gets deposited. Well, it just changed. Used to it'd get delivered straight to the seller or to the seller's agent, but Texas has changed. Now we're going to be delivering that straight to title, and it's going to be made out to title. It's the same thing as the earnest money. It does get credited to you back at closing if you continue to close. But if you backed out, it's non-refundable. That's the money for the seller to keep, if that makes sense. Okay, so when it comes to depositing your option fee, you have 3 days. Just like your earnest money, you have 3 days to deposit that option fee. Because it's the same thing. Time is literally of the essence here, and you want to get that deposited early as possible as you can. Obviously, hopefully the same time as whenever you're depositing your earnest money. But time is of the essence, because if you don't deposit that earnest money, then you don't have the right to back out the contract. If you find something in the inspection report that you don't like, the seller's not going to negotiate with you anymore. You lose all your leverage. So it's imperative that you deposit the earnest money and your option fee, all at the same time with the title company within 3 days. But if that third day falls on a weekend or a holiday, you have that one extra day, so that very next day the title company is open is when it would need to be deposited. And I believe it's 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock is the deadline, and if you don't deposit it by then you're pretty much screwed at that point. So don't be that guy, don't be that lady. Deposit the earnest money, deposit the option period, go through the whole process, get your inspections done so you don't lose all your leverage, right? All right, well that pretty much wraps up this video. It's relatively quick, relatively easy. If I missed anything, then just reach out to me, let me know. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Some of this stuff kind of seems pretty straightforward to us, so it might be a little bit more difficult to explain, the more simpler, some terminologies. If I missed anything, or if you don't understand what I'm talking about, just please reach out to me, either by email or phone call or text. I will get back to you as soon as possible. But anyway, that's going to wrap up today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comment section below if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you have any suggestions as far as what kind of other videos that we can make, feel free to let me know, and I'll be happy to make those videos for you. But until then, I'm Andrew with the Lake Team, and here in Houston, Texas, and I'll see you next time, my friend.